My name is Dr. Harry Wang. I'm president of the Sacramento chapter of Physicians for Social Responsibility. Thank you, UNA Sacramento, for holding this event and for the invitation to speak. PSR is happy to be a co-sponsor of today's event and would like to congratulate UNA Sacramento on the occasion of the 71st anniversary of the founding of the United Nations. Physicians for Social Responsibility restarted our local chapter in 2003 when we joined local activists in protesting the impending war in Iraq. On February 15 of that year, we traveled on peace action buses to San Francisco, joining 10 million people in 60 countries around the world, trying to stop an impending war for which there was absolutely no justification. It was the largest one-day global protest in history. While we did not collectively prevent the Iraq War, the protests gave us a voice and empowered our chapter to organize, reform, and to speak out against the war and militarism. Through the vision and inspiration provided by Bill and Diane Durston, we decided that we wanted to share our platform with youth by holding an essay contest for high school seniors. Since 2005, we've held an annual essay contest and have now awarded $200,000 in scholarships. This has occurred through the generous donations of PSR members and community friends. Students from Sacramento and surrounding counties submit 500-word essays based on a prompt of our choosing. Topics have included militarism, nuclear disarmament, the environment, climate change, and gun violence. A group of PSR members read the submitted essays and then choose to meet the 10 top finalists. These finalists present their essays at a spring dinner, typically attended by around 150 people. A group of judges from the community ask questions of each finalist and select the top 3 essays. We're currently awarding $15,000 every year to the 10 finalists. The essays are posted on the PSR Sacramento website. Through the years, finalists and judges have been interviewed on Capital Public Radio. The event has been broadcast on Access Sacramento cable television. The essay contest final dinner is always full of energy and inspires all of us to do more. It gives us hope for our future. We only wish that our politicians had the same clear vision and passion in addressing our most pressing issues. The essay prompt from our 2019 contest was from President Barack Obama. We are the first generation to feel the effect of climate change and the last generation to be able to do anything about it. Here are some of the quotes from our winning essays. From William Madigan, the first place finalist. Climate change is a symptom of a larger underlying disease caused by centuries of economic disparity, social prejudice, and policy inequality. Because when 100 companies contribute towards 71% of all fossil fuel emissions, what is any one high schooler supposed to do? What is any high school, city, or county supposed to do? When the U.S. Department of Defense, one of the biggest polluters in the world, receives over $700 billion a year, what can I or any member of my generation do? We can hope. We can take that hope and use it to fight for a world that we can live in. From Abigail Palmquist, the second place finalist. Like Frankenstein of literary legend, modern civilization's zeal for innovation and industry has created a monster. And though this monster may hide himself in the mountains for a time, he will eventually come back to haunt us. Climate change is our Frankenstein's monster. Day by day, it's increasingly evident that he is bellowing back into our social consciousness through a warning, personified in forest fires, hurricanes, heat waves, tree disease, and flooding. we would be wise to heed the monster's warning and vanquish him. In fact, we are the last generation able to do so. From Samantha Cutts. We need to act now, and not through regulating our current system, but by developing an entirely new infrastructure. This constitutes a change in culture. In order to preserve our future and the prosperity of future generations, we need to stop thinking that Earth is here only to support and fuel our progress. If we understand that we are only part of a complex and fragile ecosystem, then we will be more conscientious of the environment. We are the generation most affected by climate change, and thus we must bear the heavy burden of leading the way for the cultural change and attitude toward our natural resources and our place in the environment. And from Sydney Reese. This responsibility can feel overwhelming and can take a toll on my generation's mental health. As the term eco-grief implies, my generation is grieving over the irreversible damage that our planet is experiencing. When overcome with eco-grief, I remind myself of the positive social changes that will arise when my generation gains the impetus to make necessary changes to secure a future for our future. So how do we respond to the question, how can older generations listen and help prepare the way for younger ones? We need to educate ourselves about the seriousness of climate change. To be able to do this, we need to recognize and acknowledge our own feelings of anger, guilt, helplessness, and despair. We can all become easily overwhelmed and even traumatized with the news of every climate-related crisis. For example, here in California, we've lost track of the over 8,000 fires that we now have had this year, and the 3 times as many acres of land that's been burned compared to 2020. This can lead to denial and/or numbing paralysis as a way to cope with our feelings of vulnerability and loss. Being aware of the issues in our own emotions will help us to better listen to what the younger generation is saying. We need to be attentive to both the attitudes youth have as well as the specific what to do that they're demanding. In a recent survey of 10,000 young people between the ages of 16 and 25, about to be published in The Lancet, nearly 60% of youth in 10 countries felt either very worried or extremely worried about climate change. Another 25% were moderately worried. 65% of respondents felt that their government's response was failing young people. Nearly half who talked to others about the climate reported being ignored or dismissed. But we need to do more than just listen. It's only when we take action that youth will truly be heard. We need to work for the structural changes that are needed to address the climate crisis. We also need to recognize the intersectionality of the issues that we all face today. We will not be able to adequately tackle the crisis without recognizing the impacts of gender, race, class, economic and health inequalities, food insecurity, forced migration, and corporate profits. We have to tackle these crises collectively, or we cannot tackle them at all, says Varshini Prakash, co-founder of the Sunrise Movement. Climate justice, social justice, and racial justice are all intertwined. Lastly, we all need to work collaboratively together. Youth shouldn't feel left, feeling like they have all the heavy lifting to do. There's much that the older generation can do through their influence and life experiences. We can combine our efforts and share the hope that change, real change, can occur. Thank you.